Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there, shalom. I'm the brother Damar Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, and I was reading some articles, and I came across this from Zero Hedge titled, "There are over 8,500 toxic shipwrecks across the globe." You see? And this is just further show you the damage under the rulership of the so-called white man, who are the biblical Edomites, and all of these other nations who are, in cahoots with his, international businesses, okay? All of these exports and imports, all of their traffic over the high seas is really an abomination. Now, of course, this is how we receive a lot of our goods and services, shit that people need, whether it's building materials, oil, heating, oil, gas, fertilizers, fruits, vegetables, et cetera, et cetera. Now, don't get what I'm saying wrong. Of course, there are certain things that we need from other countries that need to be exported and exported, but there are a lot of things that are just not necessary, man. Like, for instance, the amount of oil and a lot of these, hazardous materials that are being shipped, and not only shipped, but a lot of these hazardous materials are being intentionally dumped in the ocean. You got a lot of horrible companies and very companies that deal with very hazardous and very toxic chemicals and materials, whether it's on train, plane, or automobile or boats that are dumped into the oceans, that are dumped in various parts across the earth, which are very damaging and very hazardous. And a lot of these chemicals have no place in this world any goddamn way, because a lot of these chemicals are man-made. A lot of these chemicals are highly toxic, and we know that this man is not a righteous steward of the earth. And a lot of these nations are, working hand in hand with a lot of these American companies or foreign companies that ultimately just produce chemicals and things of that nature that just have no place in this earth if it was under a righteous authority and rule. And you see, and this is why such great judgment is coming down upon this earth, mainly upon Esau, Edom, but also there's judgments in store for all of you heathen nations, because your lack of regard for the creation of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is just unexcusable. You see, and this is why such great judgment is coming to this place, man. So I'm gonna read some of this article, drop a couple of precepts, and just make the point that, hey, this is why new management of this earth is getting ready to come. And this is why these heathens need to be subdued. They need to be in change. They need to be, under a righteous authority and righteous rulership and sat down somewhere, because these nations, starting with the so-called white man and these other heathen nations, they're all just out of order. They're all just a bunch of heathens who have been given, positions of power and authority that really they don't need to have. Now, of course, I mean, do they do some things that are somewhat good, some things that are necessary? Of course, but they do. But the bad outweighs the good with these nations and their companies and their corporations. It's causing more of a negative effect than a positive effect, man. All right, and this is just one aspect of it. So it says there are over 8,500 toxic shipwrecks across the globe, and this is just shipwrecks. This is not talking about train derailments, nuclear reactors that are, remember the Fukushima situation? And things of this nature happen all the time, all around the earth, but it's just never getting reported. But the report of it and what's happening is being seen by the eyes of the Heavenly Father, man. See, and this is why, such a great judgment and such, a changing of rulership is going to take place on this planet Earth. Because ultimately the heathen needs to just be put in chains, man. These Chinese, these Japanese, these Edomites, these Arabs, all these different heathen nations really have no business being in positions of rulership, especially over the Israelites, which are so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now we understand, because we sinned and we went off, the Lord allowed these nations to get the upper hand and to allow us to be put in a position of servitude rather than a position of rulership and dominance, for our sins and our going off. But we understand the greater reason of why the Lord allowed these things to happen was ultimately to show us what happens when the unrighteous, when the heathen, when those who are not ordained righteously by the Heavenly Father are put in positions of rulership, the devastation and the damage that this earth could be under, man. So let's read some of this. It says there are over 8,500 potentially polluting wrecks, PPWs, across the world's ocean. So remember, whenever you see PPWs, it's potentially polluting wrecks, okay? It says across the world's ocean. It says these shipwrecks may hold as much as 20.4 million metric tons of oil and toxic substances, according to estimates, man. You see, you don't think those things have negative effects on the seas, on lakes, on rivers, on the sixth part, which is the wet, and against sea life, and against just the natural process of this beautiful creation of the Most High, man. You see, now to the average person, they'll say, well, whatever, because these things may seem insignificant unto them, because they're really not righteous men. They're not righteous stewards of the earth. And those of us who are of the elect, when we see these things, hey, it infuriates us, man, because ultimately we have a very tight link with this earth and with the creation of the Most High. We don't want to see it ran under these conditions. We don't want to see this type of wickedness take place and just brush it off as if, whatever, but the ocean is so vast, it's so big. What are you worried about it for? It doesn't affect your life. It doesn't, directly, negatively, something that you think about every day. But hey, now that we see it, we hate it, because, hey, we just want to see righteousness over the whole planet Earth, man. All right. And if this a world was in our possession, these things wouldn't happen, because a lot of these toxic chemicals and things that shouldn't be shipped over the seas, things that are created in this manner, wouldn't even exist in a righteous kingdom. OK, because a lot of these things are just unneeded. They serve no purpose but to make profit and to make money for these corporations and for these different nations, regardless of the negative consequence. It says this graphic, produced by visual capitalist Cody Good in partnership with Lloyd Register Foundation, shows the global density of World War II wrecks. It uses data from Paul Heersink's Sunken Ship of the Second World War database and oil estimates from Mitchell et al. 2005, presented at International Oil Spill Conference. And these devils know all this shit's happening, but guess what? They're not going to stop doing what they're doing. They're not going to stop production. They're not going to stop making money and making profit at the expense of spilling oil all over the oceans and the great devastation that this shit causes. Because what? They want profit over, that's all they care about is profit. They don't give a damn about the little man. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the ocean. They don't care about the creation of the Most High, man. See, this is why the scriptures say when this man is taken out of powership, even the trees are going to rejoice. They're going to break forth into singing, and the whole earth is going to rejoice when this damn devil is taken out of power at the end of the day. It says World War II battles sank over 75% of PPWs, concentrating most in regions such as the South Pacific, 32% of PPWs, 25% of oil, and there's a lot of other things that that they don't mention in this article that are continuously being dumped and spilled in the ocean. Because a lot of these chemicals, man, a lot of these things that they created are they're not biodegradable, man. They're not natural compounds and natural chemicals that can easily be, once it's put in the earth, is compatible to be broken down or to be, naturally disposed of. For instance, oil. Well, not oil, I'm tripping. Plastic. Plastic is not a biodegradable substance. That's not a natural occurring element in the earth. This man created the shit. So therefore, this is why if you just leave plastic on the earth or you bury it underground, it'll stay there forever, because it's not compatible to be broken down or to be righteously disposed of in the earth. So it just sits there forever, and it contaminates and it destroys. And that's just one example. And I'm sure there's plenty other examples of this. It says in the North Atlantic, 25% of PPWs, 38% of oil. It says here is a table that shows the concentration of PPWs by ocean region and their estimated oil content. You see? So number of shipwrecks from the South Pacific, Asia, is 2,737. And I'm sure these numbers are not 100% accurate. They like to downplay numbers. They're never going to show you the true effect of, the true numbers, okay? And you got the Northwest Atlantic, 1,300 shipwrecks. The Northwest Pacific, 1,100 shipwrecks. What else? 700 in the Northeast Atlantic, Scandinavian, West Russian Arctic, almost 400. The Mediterranean Sea, the North Pacific, 300. Indian, 296. Middle East, Eastern Gulfs, 193. And you can go on and on and on, man. But like I said, these numbers are greater than what they're showing. And these are all damning things that are damaging, whether they're not damaging or not. The point is, man, these things, under a righteous authority, these things would not happen, man. And it shows you that these nations ill regard for the creation and the earth. They look at this earth as just somewhere that they can just dump and just do whatever the hell they want to do to the earth. And let's not even include the amount of satellites and space trash that is up in that's up in space, just floating around up there. So this man is just he just has no regard or no respect for the creation of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. See, and this is why Esau, Edom, and these nations, they can never rule forever, because they rule this earth and wickedness and not in righteousness, man. They have an ill regard for the creation of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Hey, and this is why they're going to be dealt with the way they're going to be dealt with. This is why they're going into captivity. They're going into chains. They're going into slavery, man. They're not going to be in any position of power to move around on the earth and allow shit like this to continue forever, man. It says these wrecks remain under the ownership of the original flag states, who have no legal obligation to intervene. As a result, proactive international cooperation is urgently required. You see, at the end of the day, we put all the blame on the Edomites, man, because they're in the top position of power. They're the one who allow these different shipping routes and business to conduct the way that it conducts, man. You see, and these nations are just, they're on board with it as well, because what? They all profit. They all make money. They're all in cahoots together. But we know the blame starts at the top, which is the Edomites. It says the environmental threat. Many PPWs lie in the waters of small island states reliant on fishing and tourism, you see. So fishing and tourism is all affected by these things. This is why cancer is so high. This is why you can't even, a lot of the fish in the sea that you fish and you eat, when it's when it's researched and it's looked at, contain high amounts of radiation and poison and chemicals, and which in turn, we eat the fish. Whatever the fish is contaminated with, it contaminates us. It contaminates our children. It contaminates our bodies. It ultimately contaminates the earth, man. You don't think these devils see, but these devils think they're never going to pay for this shit. They look at it as insignificant, that, it's okay. The ocean is so vast. It's okay. It won't just have an immediate effect, but it's an effect still the same. Hey, and the Most High requires those things, man. It says even minor oil spills in sensitive marine areas can be devastating. See? So these things all have an effect. They all play a role. And it's nothing but wickedness, man. You see, this is why, matter of fact, let me get that real fast. I'll come back to this. No, let me read this first. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6:1. Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, you see? And the reason why the so-called white man is in power is because the Lord he's given him authority and sovereignty. He's given the earth is in the hand of the wicked. What's the other one? How it goes? Daniel's 4:18. The Lord giveth the earth is his, and he giveth this whomsoever he will, even the bases of men. And right now, the bases of men, which is the Edomites, are in power of this earth. And look how they're treating it. Look how they're conducting their stewardship over the earth. This is why everything is everything is messed up. Everything, the course of nature is out of course. You know, he's doing geoengineering. We can just go on and on with the wickedness that this man is doing. Besides these PPWs and this mass amount of toxic waste he's spilling into the ocean, he's geoengineering the atmosphere of the Most High's creation. He's doing all manner of evil and wickedness, man. You see, hey, and this is why such judgment is coming down upon him. Verse 3, for power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out all your counsels. You see, in this article that I'm reading, is part of the counsels that's being searched out. But that's just a minuscule amount of it. We know there's a lot that he's not telling the people. It's a lot that we don't see, a lot that these companies and these businesses know that they're never going to reveal to the public, and the horrific effects of these ill doings, man. You see, it says, because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of the Most High. And we know Esau is not working. He's not walking after the counsel of the Most High. They tell you that Esau abhors the law of the Most High. So why do you? So it makes sense why he's treating the earth and the creation of the Most High the way that he does, man. Remember, the earth. When you're in control of this earth, there's a certain way it has to be maintained. Otherwise, it's not going to yield properly. This is why you have land Sabbath, the year of Jubilee. You know, how you're supposed to operate and treat the earth. There's certain trees you're not supposed to cut down. Certain animals you're not supposed to remove out of their natural habitations into other habitations. And we can go on, and this devil is totally violating the law and the righteous instructions of the Most High on this earth. It says, horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. For mercy will soon pardon the meanest, but mighty men shall be mightily tormented. For he which is Lord over all shall fear no man's persons, neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness, for he hath made small and great, and care for all alike. But a sore trial shall come upon the mighty. Unto you, therefore, O kings, do I speak, that ye may learn wisdom and not fall away. And Esau's not learning wisdom. He's Euro stepping around the wisdom of the Most High and trying to apply his own wisdom. And we see how that's working. Now he got trees that he's cloned and made fake trees that are clones, putting fake salmon in the ocean, which is devouring and eating the natural salmon, creating this franken fish, franken fruit, franken trees, and now he's talking about re-engineering man in his own image. So this man is literally out of effing control, man. But it's all good though. Hey, the Lord wanted us to see these things. He wanted the righteous, the Israelites, to see what happens when wickedness prevails and when the order and wisdom of the Most High is not implemented in the earth. And oh boy, are we learning a very crucial lesson, man, and how important it is to stand in the greatness and awe of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And in the kingdom of heaven, hey, when we get those new bodies and we're perfected and we have the complete wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High and our inward parts, and when we get our kingdom, when we run it with the full knowledge and respect and wisdom and care of Yahweh Shah on this planet Earth, wait and see how bad our kingdom and how the earth is going to flourish under our rulership, man. It's going to be a sight to behold, man. All right. It says, for they that keep holiness holy shall be judged holy, and they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. Wherefore set your affections upon my words, desire them, and ye shall be instructed. You see, but this is where Esau and these nations fell, and we're seeing, their failures, and we're going to soon see the judgment for it. It says, wisdom is glorious and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and is found of such that seek her. But she preventeth them that desire of her, and making herself first known unto them. For whoso seeketh her early shall have no great travail, for he shall find her sitting at his doors. And this is where Esau fails. And this is why such great travail is getting ready to befall this devil. You see, it says, here's a table showing the top 10 countries with the most PPWs located in their exclusive economic zones. Yep, Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, Solomon Islands, Nauru, Kiribati, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Cape Verde, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And remember, I guarantee you a lot of these companies that are operating where all these shipwrecks in these countries are happening. They're not owned by those countries. I guarantee you, they're owned by European or Edomite companies that are just benefiting, but using these countries for their strategic locations, for their ports, for their minerals, for their goods and services. You know, what else? It says, because these nations often lack the resources to respond, they remain especially vulnerable to emerging threats. The Malta Manifesto. It says the Malta Manifesto, launched by Project Tangaroa, calls for the global framework to address the PPW threat. It outlines key actions from identifying high-risk wrecks to supporting coastal nations with limited capacity. By recognizing that even a single leak in the wrong location can have far-reaching impacts, the manifesto pushes for equitable, science-based solutions to this overlooked legacy of conflict. And they're not going to do a goddamn thing about it. They've been doing this shit since World War II, man. These things have been happening. Now all of a sudden, see, but this is what Esau do. He'll create something like this, but they don't never go forward with the shit. You know, they'll have this thing in order, and they're supposed to act on it and make things better. But hey, like I said earlier, profit is the only thing that interests them. You know, like I said, they break everything that's written in that Malta Manifesto. They'll break every law, every rule, every standard of that thing, and just continue to make profit, sweep it under the rug. They'll buy out or pay off whoever needs to be paid off so that, it can be business as usual, man. See, and this is why this man is such a damn devil. And like I said, this is just one small thing, man. We can go on and on dealing with this man wickedness and, all of the vital effects and destruction he's doing in this earth with his chemicals, with his corporations, with his ill management of this planet Earth, man. And this is Revelations 18:1. It says, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And this Babylon the great that's talking about is America, man. And I want to highlight just a point here. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, you see? And that's the point I was making. All these different countries, man, they're all drunken off the wine of the wrath, and they've committed fornication with Babylon, mainly, with business practices, with all these vile, destructive, wicked corporations, oil companies, toxic sludge, microplastics, all these different businesses that pollute and that emit cancerous fumes and things of that nature. All these nations are guilty by association with this devil. See, and this is why great judgment is going to fall upon Babylon the Great. And when Babylon is destroyed, all these companies that make money, that produce these things, that are becoming financially enriched by the fornication with Babylon, it's all going to come to a screeching halt, man. And in our kingdom, they're not going to be able to operate under such vile and destructive and earth-shattering practices, man. It says, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You see, by what? By their business. No matter how nefarious or how horrible or how cancer-causing or how earth-destructive they are, these nations are waxed rich. You see, it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and ye receive not of her plagues. And of course, that's going to be the ultimate nuclear destruction of Babylon the Great. And the elect are going to be taken up out of America into the chariots before this great destruction happens. It says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. See, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of things that we're not told that these companies and these different, that America and these different companies that are associated with America and the devastating destruction of the earth do. But it says what? The Most High remembered, you see? So they can lie to us. They can hide shit. They can sweep things under the rugs. They can tell you, oh, that oil spill wasn't that bad. It doesn't have no negative effect. Everything is fine. But the Lord knows, man. Hey, and everything that he's done and that he's doing is being watched and recorded by the angels. So there's nothing he can do or nothing that's being hid from the eyes and the thoughts and the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man. And this is why at the end of the day, it's just best to just fear the Lord, man, and just do what's right, because nobody gets away. Nobody escapes. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which she have filled, fill to her double. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she hath said in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. You see? And this is the mind frame of this devil. And this is why he continues to do what he does. This is why he has no regard for all of his wickedness, man, because he really feels in his heart of hearts that he's never going to be thrown down. That, it's like once you get away with something for so long, you start to feel untouchable. You start to feel like you're invincible, and that ain't nobody checking, and don't nobody care what you're doing. You're just free to get away with it forever and ever. But that's just the Lord letting this pride and puffing this man up to feel that he's never going to go down, to continue to double down and triple down until until you got to pay the piper, man. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. You see, it says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, at last, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, which is going to be nuclear destruction. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. And what are the merchants of the sea? All these different companies that trade, the import and export company, man. But this is how these nations are made rich, by dealing with Esau, Edom, and with America. You see, it says, and the merchants of the sea shall weep over. Let's look up this word. Well, I know what a merchant is, but let's just see if it gets specifically. The word is emporios. That's where you get emporium. It says one on a journey, whether by sea or by land, especially for trade. You see? So all of these merchants, man, it says they shall mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and of fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and of iron, of marble and of cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beast and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and the souls of men. And a lot of that, it didn't mention it here, but a lot of these oil and chemicals that are completely devastating and hazardous to the environment and to the earth are on these ships as well, man. You see, so once America is destroyed, hey, all of these merchants, all of these nations that are in cahoots and that are made rich by the emporium or the trade or the services of Babylon are all going to weep and mourn, because once Babylon is through, hey, that's it. Because after that comes what? The kingdom of Israel. And we ain't going to allow these nations or these heathens to operate and conduct business in this type of fashion. None of these, you're not going to have PPWs and shipwrecks of toxic chemicals and oil and devastating earth shattering destruction from these things in our kingdom, because everything's going to be refreshed. We're going to bring paradise back to this planet Earth, and righteous authority and perfect righteous business practices, man. And we're going to be in charge of everything. All right. And these heathens are going to be under subjection. They're going to have to conduct themselves righteously and honorably. And we're going to set the code and the parameters for what can be shipped and what can't be shipped. And, what chemicals can be created and what chemicals cannot be created in our kingdom, man. And it's only going to be perfection and righteousness, and everything in this earth is going to rejoice and yield its proper fruit, man. See, but let me get that real fast and I'll close it. I didn't plan on. I know I mentioned it earlier, but let's get it, man. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? I think it's Isaiah 60. That's not it. Let's do this. I think it's Isaiah 14. There we go. This is Isaiah chapter 14, verse. I'll read up. Yep, this is Isaiah 14:4. Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruleth the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing, you see? Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. You see, hell from beneath is moved to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It is raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. You see, and they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become as weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Basically saying when America is destroyed, man. The whole earth is going to be at rest. Even the fir trees are going to rejoice. The earth is going to sing. The seas, the fish, the earth, the air, the water, the whole earth, man. Because remember, the earth is a living thing, man. But under this oppressive ruler, this damn devil Esau, Edom, all the earth is groaning. All the earth is catching pure hell under this damn devil. But his reign of terror will soon be over, man. He's going to be crushed. All right, and taken out of power, and then a righteous authority and a righteous kingdom of Israel will be established, man. So with that, Lord willing, this was edified. To the next one, shalom.